When writing an in-text citation using APA style and deciding how to craft a paragraph summary of an article, you might start by thinking about why are in-text citations necessary? And I would argue that there's really two reasons. You want to be sure to cite because you want someone else to be able to find the information so that they can read it themselves. So if you're citing one person's article, someone else's, you want someone else to be able to find that, right? That's really the main reason. And there's also the important reason. You want to be sure that you're giving credit where credit is due correctly. If I want to refer to an article by Gary Evans, Richard Weiner, and Donald Phillips from 2002, how do you think that would look cited? Do you know? Maybe take a moment to think about it, and then I'll show you the answer. Well, if I were doing it, I might write it this way. I might write according to one study, and then I would write parentheses, Evans, comma, Weiner, comma, and Phillips, comma, 2002. Notice how I started with a few words like according to or in one study, and then I cite the study itself. And then I can go on and write a lot more about the study. In most of my undergrad papers, when I was a novice, I used to write 2 paragraphs about a given study as a summary. When I do that, I would only cite it once. So let's take a look. So in this example, we write a paragraph about one study that we're citing. In a study about the morning rush hour, and then you see the citation, Evans, Weiner, and Phillips, 2002, 56 train passengers were recruited on commutes from one place to another at a certain time. Blah, blah, blah. 3 types of data were collected. Now you'll see we're talking about the method. So this is kind of how you craft the paragraph when you're doing an in-text citation. Let me say you start kind of about a little bit about the method if you want, and then get into the results. At the end of the journey, so this is continuing to summarize the article by Evans and his colleagues. They provided cortisol samples, and at home they did something else. And then I talk about the results indicated that, and I say what they indicated, that perceived predictability of a commute was found to be adversely associated with stress. And then I might say the results a little differently. Specifically, the more unpredictable the commute by train, the greater the levels of commuters' perceived stress and physiological stress. So you see how a summary of an article is done with the 2 paragraphs and then the 1 citation. Okay. Now what's wrong if I had done it this way? In a study about the morning rush hour and then citation, 56 people, blah, blah, according to the study, a citation again, and then a little more, and then after participants boarded a train, and the citation again. The problem is it's too many citations. It's very confusing because it's possible that these authors wrote 3 different papers. And so now anyone who's reading your work might not know what you mean. They might think that you're referring to 3 different studies. Did you know that a lot of theorists often changed their work over time and modified their theories? So they wrote different papers, and some of their later work would contradict their earlier work. So some of the ideas of people like Sigmund Freud and also Jean Piaget, they had some contradictory views, or at least different views, as they modified their theories over time. So again, it does matter. Try to be careful how you do this. Try to only do 1 citation when you summarize an article once. Now, if you know what you're doing, there might be times when you need to cite one article more than one time. But usually for a novice student, it might help to think of it that way, because I do see this a lot in undergrad papers that they don't know how to do that quite right. Now, another question or concern or problem I see with student papers, they're not always sure if they have to cite within a citation what to do. So let me give you an example. Okay. So just look away from your computer screen for a moment. Imagine that your professor, let's say that person's name is Dr. Smith, and they want you to read and then write a little bit about different views about why wars start. And imagine your professor assigns a book or course reader, And it's an article by Franklin Roosevelt in the course reader. And then he cites Sigmund Freud. So let me say that again. The instructor assigns a book. In the book is Franklin Roosevelt's book chapter, let's say, and in that is a citation of Freud's 1915 paper that relates to wars. And you wanted to cite what Freud says. I think your main goal is to really be sure your audience can find the information you're citing. So if you feel the audience can find it by simply citing your professor, like Smith 2017, if that's when the course reader was, and the page 22, you can do that. You might say, according to an article by Sigmund Freud in 1915, and then parentheses as cited in. You can also check the APA style to be sure that the page numbers are correct here, because sometimes they change. Over time, APA style can change, and I didn't check the very latest on this. Now remember the purpose again. You want to enable your audience to read it and to check it for themselves and give proper credit. That's why we do it.